In today's world, we need great leaders. Yet many times I see highly effective leaders become less effective over time due to little problems. These are things that you're never taught in school, and yet they can affect your productivity as well as your work-life balance. So today, I want to talk about some of these scenarios, give you some actionable tips. So if you find yourself in that situation, or perhaps you're burning out a little bit, you'll be that much better having watched this presentation. My name is Ken Okel. I'm a professional speaker. I talk to audiences about ways that you can improve your performance on the job. And I pull from a background, kind of a fun one: broadcast news, hurricane relief, professional ballet. Now, I know, unusual combination, but in each and every field, I had to perform at a high level every day under pressure. A big problem for a lot of leaders is that you have trained people to think that you are the person who has all the answers. I understand. It can be kind of fun to be seen as the person who knows everything, who has all the answers. It's an ego boost, but this takes up a lot of your time. And when you're trying to get done some of your important work, do you have this steady stream of people coming to your office, or all these emails or text messages, little questions? What do you think about this? What should we do here? Some of these things may not necessarily be in your area of expertise, but you're being asked about it. What can you do? Let's talk about a few strategies. One of them is when someone comes to you with one of these questions, simply ask, what do you think? Because someone may already have the answer, but they kind of want you to say it. It might be better to get the information from them, evaluate it, make the decision, move on. You're not having to suddenly learn about something or get an update. Just ask that question. What do you think? It empowers people as well. Along those lines, maybe you go a little bigger. You tell your staff, if you bring me a potential problem, I want you to bring me a couple of potential solutions. This gets people out of just sitting passively and seeing problems and bring them to you. Instead, you want them to be actively thinking about it. You then get a menu of options from them that you can choose from. You don't necessarily have to follow their recommendations. You can always do some research on your own, but at least here you've got a running start. You've had an opportunity to get some of the information. You're not starting at 0. You're starting more at 20 on your way to making a decision. Saves a lot of time, gets people thinking proactively, and can really give you that opportunity to focus on your important work and not just every little question that comes up, like what type of tablecloth should we have at the big meeting coming up? Important, but maybe not something you should be spending a lot of time on. If you feel like you can never get your important work done, may I suggest that you consider creating some barriers in your schedule, giving yourself some protected time when you are able to focus on your work. There's a few different ways to do this. Sometimes it is as simple as closing a door. Now, when we're all in the physical office, people may walk into your door all the time. They think of something, they want to ask you about it. You're a nice person. They come on in. You get interrupted. Once or twice, not a bad thing. But if it's happening constantly, it's really hard to focus on things. And it may be one of those distractions where someone talks to you about one thing, which makes you think of something else, which makes you call someone else. That original work you were doing, it gets lost. Can you close your door for a little while? Maybe 30 minutes a day. You could put up a fun sign saying something like, "Training dragons inside. Please come in if it's an emergency." Same thing can go for your phone and your email. Can you turn those things off for a little while? Put a do not disturb message on them. Simply turn off the ringer. Now, I realize some people, you got to be available all the time. If that's the case, though, is there a time when you are less busy? During that time, maybe that's when you create the barrier, when you focus as much as you can on your work. A simple way that some leaders create a barrier is simply by moving their physical location. When everyone is in the same office, there is often a conference room that for much of the day is empty. Are you able to move to that conference room for a little while and work on some important stuff? This gives you that opportunity to focus. You won't be interrupted as much. And I find that people will notice, oh, Ken's in the conference room. He must really be concentrating on something. I'll get back to him later. Kind of funny. We're just shifting your location. The good news is, if someone needs to find you, you're right there in the conference room. So consider these barriers as a way to reclaim your time. You're not being mean. You're not slamming doors in people's faces, but you're just kind of saying, hey, I need to focus on some things for a little while. I find that if you can get that 15, 30, maybe even 45 minutes of focused work, you will become that much more productive on the job. So consider creating some barriers. As a leader, are you giving yourself time to get better? Better is difficult to define, but often that may mean learning something new, networking with people, following up with customers, those little things that can improve the bottom line. No one action will do it, but collectively, they can really add up over time. The challenge is that often we become busy with the day's activities, the day's challenges, and we push these things off to the side. Can you make sure that you establish some routines that allow you to get better? For those of us who have online calendars, if you're in an organization, you know when other people have access to your calendar, they may fill it up with lots of meetings or other requests. So can you create some ongoing items during certain times of the day, maybe, again, slower times? You can block off that time, 30 minutes, an hour. And that time is devoted to something that you need to do to get better. Maybe it's calling a colleague. Maybe it's spending some time learning something new, reading a trade publication, giving yourself a tangible way to improve yourself on the job. Too often, we start to pull into ourselves. We're almost in a silo. We're cut off from the rest of the world, and we're missing out on learning some important things or creating relationships with colleagues that will be beneficial. Make sure you give yourself that time to focus on something new, to innovate. Just give yourself the opportunity to get better. If every week or even every day you take a few minutes to do something like this, by the end of the year, you will be much more effective, much more efficient. And I think also knowing that you are investing in yourself, that will help with some of the stress you may feel on the job because you're taking control of your future. You're not just reacting all the time to interruptions or other challenges. I hope these tips and suggestions will be useful. Let me know if there's some additional ones you'd like me to talk about in the future. For more about me, my name is Ken Okel. As I mentioned, I'm a professional speaker. Go to my website, kenokel.com, to learn more about my presentations, see some clips of me in action, and listen to my podcast, The 2-Minute Takeaway. If you want to shoot me an email, tvguy@kenokel.com. Funny story about that. When I worked in TV news, well, very often you'd be out in the public and people would recognize you and they'd want to say hi, but they wouldn't know your name. So they would just randomly yell out things like, hey, TV guy. I encourage you to connect with me as well on the social channels. On LinkedIn, with your connection request, could you please include a note and mention where we first encountered one another? That's just interesting for me to see. Also, it kind of lets me know that you're not one of those sneaky people on LinkedIn who just want to connect with me so they can sell me a bunch of stuff that I may not need. Hope this presentation will empower you in the future. Great leaders take steps to get better. I'm Ken Okel. Take care.